Today's guest comes from a powerhouse family business, Florida's largest general contractor. He has a background in government and passion for innovation. He's a former U.S. congressman and now a full-blown disruptor in the construction industry, thanks to two AI companies that are reimagining how we estimate, design, and build housing. He also manufactures a revolutionary Lego-like home building product. We dive into why he left Congress to make a bigger impact in business and how AI might be the key to solving America's housing crisis. We also talk about the lessons he learned from politics, managing multiple ventures, and how he's using tech to build leaner, faster, and smarter.
Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness. My name is Bobby Mascia, owner of many businesses, including my passion, a wealth management firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs. My life totally changed when I made a conscious decision to design my businesses to run themselves, not me and my time. If you're looking to get unchained from your business, make more money, and have more time, listen to the experiences of other successful entrepreneurs here on Business Unchained.
Bobby Mascia is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
Please welcome the entrepreneur, innovator, and former Congressman Patrick E.
So it seems like you have always been somewhat of a disruptor in your mind. You know, you were part of the BP oil spill and cleanup. You became a congressman to try to create some influence and change. You've got these blocks behind you. You've got two AI companies. What kind of goes on in your mind when you start to see the issues, and how does that connect to a solution for you?
It's a great question. Never really put it like that to me, but sit with a psychologist or something. But it goes back to my dad.
We all do.
Yeah. For a lot of reasons. But it goes back to my dad in many ways. Being an entrepreneur himself, dropped out of college at 19, I guess in part because of that, but also told his sons and, including myself, follow your dreams. It sounds cheesy, but he was truly supportive of it. That if you want to be a garbage man, if you want to be an astronaut, a doctor, just be the best at it. Just fucking work your ass off and I'll support you. Don't be a lazy bum. If so, a different story, but whatever it is, follow your dreams. And so I guess with that, and a friend actually I met at Lawrenceville, for example, kind of challenged me along the way. Who are you to complain? You've been blessed with too many opportunities to just have another job and just kind of go this sort of easy route. Why don't you push the envelope a little bit? So that's always sort of in the back of my head. What else can be done? How can I help others? Maybe sounds cheesy, but more driven by service than money, I'd say. Would rather leave an impact. And if you make money along the way, great. But
it's amazing how one voice can play such an influential role in the way that it resonates with you at the moment that you're hearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to kind of hear something from somebody who's a friend down in Lawrenceville when you spent a short period of time there, and you kind of carry that with you. I've had a couple of instances of that myself. How often do you think about that?
Every time I'm asked why I ran for office. Yeah. Like, why the hell did you get into politics? I think about it a lot.
What did you learn from that? Because, the political environment of having to campaign, raise money, shake hands, kiss babies, be out front, create a consistent message, always make sure that you're coming back to that message and whatever communication you have. How did that change how you view business life and everything that you're doing? Or did it not? That's off your beaten path. I mean, CPA, construction.
I don't know how deep you want me to go here, but I wrote a whole book on it with a Republican colleague of mine from Congress. But at a high level, I went into politics very naive, thinking it was all about policy, solving problems, helping people out. And of course, there's some politics and some fundraising, but I had no idea the extent. I'd never been in politics. No one in my family had been in it. I'd met some people along the way that had sort of warned me, but I had no idea that 80% of my life would be spent trying to get reelected. And that's your job, right? And that's basically what leadership tells you, no matter what side of the aisle, that, hey, it's a 2-year term. And whatever it is that you're passionate about, probably is not going to get solved in that 2-year period. So you better come back. How do you come back? Well, you got to get reelected. How do you get reelected? Well, it starts off with raising money, showing up to all the local events, voting, a certain way on certain issues, yada, yada, yada. And so it all works backwards from that reelection, especially with that 2-year cycle. And I forgot the exact number, but something like 90% of candidates with the most money end up winning their reelection or election. So it works backwards from there. It's a completely broken process. So I loved 20% of the job when you get to go to committee, right? I was on the financial services committee. I was on the intelligence committee. I got to do some, unbelievable travel, meet some unbelievable people, help a lot of constituents. Like there's some really neat parts where you're truly making a difference. 80% of the time, you feel like a telemarketer with a cool title. You're begging for money. Hey, Bobby, how you been, man? Hey, I need $1,000 for my reelection. And by the way, can your spouse and kids donate too? And it's a grind. That was the biggest learning. In a way, I respect elected officials way more because of what they're doing. It's a tremendous sacrifice, not only for their life, but their families, because it's a 60, 80 hour a week job. I was working 80 or 100 hours a week normally because it's 7 days a week. There is no like Sunday we're like, oh, I'm just going to wear sweats and watch football today. Like that doesn't happen. There's a parade.
Now there's some event that you have to be at. Yeah.
There's happening. There's an event. There's a speech, so you're always on. And that was one of the biggest differences, that there's no just like downtime or you can take it easy today. Like that doesn't exist.
What was your family life at that point? Were you married, single?
Luckily single, which helped with probably all sorts of other, potential conflicts and accusations and everything else. So I was 29 when I got elected.
You were the youngest to get into Congress at the time, right?
Yeah, there were a handful of other younger members elected in my class: Joe Kennedy, Eric Swalwell, Kirsten Sinema, Tulsi Gabbard. There were a handful of others. So it was a fun, young class. I think there were 89 new members. I always tell people it's like starting college. Right. You have no idea like really what to expect. And you get there and you're Republicans and Democrats and like, being taught how to vote and like, all the processes and procedures and then the security and the safety and all these things. And everyone's like naive, going to change the world. Right. And all these like big ideas. Mm-hmm. And then within a couple months, like all that's broken down. You're in your corner and it's like, it's fight time. And I was shocked how quickly the spirit of bipartisanship and let's just get things done eroded when people started falling into the typical DC, environment that is infamous at this point.
I guess if you were to look at your time there, what do you think is the most impactful thing you were a part of in changing or developing, instituting?
There's, quite a few individual stories, I'd say, that are interesting where you get to help a veteran, their VA benefits, and a senior. There was a couple children we were able to help with some Medicaid and getting healthcare. Those are the ones you feel because they're so human, they're so personal. You meet these people, you talk to their families. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Big picture, I would say Everglades restoration and really working hard with the community, working with the administration, working with the Congress. And this was throughout a government shutdown, actually, to get major funding, billions and billions of dollars allocated in the budget to come and help the Everglades, South Florida. I'm sure you're familiar somewhat with it, but it's, continues to plague our community with water issues, dirty water in some areas, not enough in others. And so anyway, that's something we spend a lot of time on.
So then you left and you got back into the family business. I know you spent childhood times there. I think for most people who have a family business, grew up around it, knows that you can't escape it fully when you're a kid. Is that when you got back into the family business afterward?
Yes. I guess like many people thought about, should I lobby? Should I stay in DC? You get some pretty crazy offers for lobbying. Do I run for another office? I lost in 2016 to Marco Rubio in the Senate race. There was a governor's race coming up 2 years later in Florida. So there was definitely a consideration of doing that. I actually talked about running on a split ticket with a Republican lieutenant governor, Democrat and myself as governor, and doing a split ticket, just trying to prove to people that you can get along. We're not that divided. So spent some time, thinking about all those things. And one thing I realized, I really missed being able to work with my family and somewhat took that for granted. My brothers, my uncles, cousins, right? We got, 11, 12 different family members in our business. And that's cool, right? That's not something to be taken,
It's a full family affair. Did your dad start the business or one of your uncles or?
Yeah, my dad started it. Quick story. He basically, at 19 years old, was at University of Miami. And he was in the frat, the Pike House. He was social chairman. He heard about a renovation they were going to do in the Pike House. talked to the president of the Pike House and said, hey, look, I got these other 2 bids. You think you can do the work? Put a bid in. He happened to beat those other 2 bids by $1,000, won the job, and ended up doing it. He made like, $10,000. And he's like, I'm the richest guy in Miami. Like, why do I need to go to college? Like, this is stupid. I made it. So he just stopped attending classes, finished the Pike House, made a couple bucks. And then that turned into another job, ended up, basically dropping out of college, and started a construction company. And I think he called it Murphy Construction Company. And, it's just, started getting work. Things were a little different back then. And then rolled that into a company called Seaboard, which he sold to Turner Construction in the late 1980s.
Okay.
And he was probably late 30s or early 40s at that point, and thought he was retired, made a few bucks. And then he basically went into depression and he sort of realized that he needs to work. He needs a mission. He needs to be driven. And so then he started Coastal Construction in the late 1980s with his brother, my uncle, and started down the Florida Keys. And anyway, been blessed to be in a great market and have a great team and grow it to now the largest general contractor in Florida.
So you said your dad was very supportive of you kind of just chasing your thing, just as long as you're the best at it. You want to be a garbage man? Just be the best garbage man.
Yeah. Work hard.
I guess you're considering going back to the family business. You have these other opportunities. Maybe you'll be back in politics at some point in your life. We can visit that toward the end. But what was the family environment like? How did you get in? Where did you fit in? Who helped to identify what your role was going to be? I'd love to just hear, how 11 of you kind of come and work in the family business and where you and your brothers kind of found your spots.
So before I'd left for politics, was working on a few investments and really diversification of the business. We are, in a good way, very focused and narrowly focused in construction. My dad's always been very disciplined about that. He'd gotten into development and started spreading out too thin and almost went bankrupt in the 80s, crisis then. And that was a lesson to him, that keep blinders on and stick to what you know. And here we sort of beat that into our head. As the business grew, though, and I had 2 older brothers and uncles and cousins taking more leadership positions, kind of challenged him a little bit that, we do have the bandwidth to diversify. What we can do, and at a certain point, you don't want all your eggs in one basket. So we'd been looking at buying offices, doing development, buying land. The BP oil spill happened. That was sort of a unique scenario that we had an opportunity to get involved in. The earthquake in Haiti happened, went down there. Then this modular, composite, building material, RENCO came about in 2010. This building material called RENCO. We have a manufacturing company that builds these, and it's basically a new way to build. At a very high level, you have concrete, metal, and wood. This is the 4th fully approved building system in the world. So it's a cool, exciting breakthrough. And,
so is that something that you were part of the brainchild of imagining and coming to reality? Or is that something that you got introduced to a company and you said, this is amazing, let's adopt this and move it forward?
Yeah, basically back in 2010, it's a longer story, but basically 2010, earthquake in Haiti happened. We're a construction company in Miami. We were asked to go down there and do some work. We flew down 2 days after the earthquake, realized right away you're not going to be able to do traditional construction. Started looking at alternatives. We were introduced to this. It's an invention from Turkey. Flew over to Turkey in June, a few months after the earthquake, and we're blown away with the strength and everything else. We said, it's almost too good to be true. Let's bring it to the U.S. Ended up taking 10 years to get all the necessary approvals because of the bureaucracy and safety that goes into anything like safety, right? Naturally, I'm glad for it. It's just a headache when you're doing it.
Right. It's an unfortunate part of carving the path, right?
Yeah. I don't have the IP, wasn't my invention, certainly, but carving the path, getting it approved in the U.S. and now hopefully expanding throughout the U.S. We had a lot of, exciting ventures in the mix. And then, I drank some bad water and decided to get into politics. So when I came back, it was sort of a reassessment. Okay, where are we at? What's going on with the business? I was blessed to sort of have a new perspective of the world after everything you see in politics and travel the world and all. Had a fresh set of eyes and was able to come back and sit with the team and realize, wow, there's some real opportunities with technology, not only to disrupt our business, but disrupt the industry as a whole. That's where we had an idea to start an artificial intelligence company called Togal in the estimating space.
And what year was that?
2019.
Okay. All right. So this is pre-COVID.
And there were 3 or 4 other things that just sort of naturally bubbled up that made it clear that hey, my role is going to be diversifying, looking at investments, and helping with business development because, again, got to meet a lot of great people and they could maybe help bring some new clients in that we weren't exposed to. So there was sort of a natural fit and, kind of see where things evolved.
Did your family give you the leeway to figure that out? Or was that something that you had to almost put your political hat back on and start to negotiate and figure out how to, get to the middle aisle and compromise? Or what did that look like?
Yeah, I think we very much, I don't want to say trust but verify, but we trust each other, all of us. If someone's got an idea and they want to run with it, go kick ass, dude. Check in 3 months, 6 months, see what you're doing. If you're caught sitting on the beach, maybe there's a little problem, but we all, if anything, probably have a bad habit of being workaholics, if anything. So there was definitely trust to go focus on the business development and diversification. This company I just mentioned earlier, Togal, ended up getting some legs. And that's, in a good way, sort of taken over my life as that company's, continued to grow and actually spun another AI company out of that. I guess as luck would have it, AI is becoming such a, major, I say trend, but revolution in the world. And we were lucky enough to be just enough ahead of it to have a company that was mature enough to really take advantage of this wave we're on and have a really good head start on any potential competitors. Which is, important on the marketing, on the SEO, on the branding, the product, the events, really getting this out in front of construction companies and making their life easier, letting them focus on what really matters. And that's the cool part.
And what's the mission? I mean, like I said, history of disruption in an AI company. There's got to be a mission here for the bigger picture, I can only assume.
Yeah, the big picture, I believe one of the most important things we need to address as a society is where and how we live. And we have a workforce housing crisis in our country. And more people are being priced out for various reasons. And the younger generation, especially, can't afford to buy a house, can't afford to put that stake in the ground, be part of a community, be proud of that community, that home, and build equity, right? Which is usually the biggest asset in most people's life. And they end up renting and just continue every month to pay rent, and then no equity is being built. And there's a lot of drivers for that. I believe technology is going to help solve that. And if you kind of peel back the onion on construction, basically everything that's built is unique. It's one of a kind, right? You might have some track houses or whatever. Basically, every building's different. It's a different architect, different piece of land, different dirt, different subcontractors and materials and contractors and new code. So people try to compare it to manufacturing, but it's really not, right? Because it's so unique. Everything is custom.
Mm-hmm.
And technology wasn't affordable until recently to process that much disparate information and make sense of it. But now with AI, all of a sudden you can look at a million previous, 3-bedroom houses, see the similarities, use that information to now predict what that next house should look like, how it's going to be laid out, where do the pipes go, where do the electric sockets go, the structure, et cetera, and do all that with a click of a button. So I believe in 5 years from now, roughly, if you want to build a new house, if you want to build a new basic, just say hotel or apartment building, it's going to be a prompt. You're going to come on our website, Togal.AI, and you're going to give us your address, your budget, the style of construction, and then what you're trying to build. Your dream house, 5-bedroom house, 6-bathroom, 2-car garage, whatever it is. Here's the address. And boom, in a click of a button, you're going to get a full set of construction documents. Not just like a pretty picture, right? The mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing. That set of plans is going to be up to code. It could theoretically be approved because the AI will not draw a set of plans that doesn't meet the code because we've interpreted your local building code, the height and the setbacks and that sort of thing, and given you a set of plans. And so now all of a sudden, what you're doing here is you're taking 18 to 24 months of pre-construction and estimating, compressing it down to days or weeks. And that's often about 25 to 30% of the cost in construction.
Mm-hmm.
If you can remove 30% of cost out in years, right, of financing, it's huge for construction. Now, as humans, we can focus on the cool stuff, right? Like, how do we build communities that are livable and walkable and sustainable and bringing us together, right? Those town squares and events that are helping unite us instead of dividing us. And so I think that's where humans go, hopefully, to bring building better communities, better buildings that we're proud of. And by reducing costs, allow more people to afford it.
So your focus is mostly now in Southern Florida, or have you expanded your footprint and expanded your territory?
So in order to get there, it's piecemeal. Our software today helps with the estimating process. So in order to build a building, if you're an owner, right, and you want to go build a new house, you would typically go to, I don't know, 3 or 4 contractors, and you send them the plans. You're like, yo, what's this going to cost to build?
Mm-hmm.
You send to the contractor. So now I'm the contractor. I get a PDF, right? And I sit there and I measure, okay, how much wood, how much concrete and baseboard and tile and windows and door. And it's manual.
Yeah.
As a kid, I used to do it with a ruler like this. I'd sit there on printed plans, right? We'd measure it all. Today, you do it, with a mouse, and you sit there and you click. It's a 3-4 days, maybe 3-4 weeks, depending on the size of the job. Our software does that with a click of a button. We automatically give you all of the quantities and all the objects that's in that set of plans. So we are compressing the time for you to do the estimate and giving you more accurate information.
Which is one of the biggest problems. We have a lot of clients that are contractors, and they've got these companies, and their hardest position to fill is somebody to go out and estimate the job.
Yep. It's a very tough position to fill, expensive. And a lot of estimators end up doing things that they don't love. Like, who wants to sit there and color, right? And measure things? Like, that's not the brain power. The brain power is the scoping, the bid leveling, what we call value engineering, like finding a better way to build that building less expensive, more efficiently. And that's where people want to spend their time, not the mundane. So like most successful AIs, I would argue, are doing that mundane work so the human can do the more valuable work. And so that's the focus of the business now. It's actually global. We're in, I think, 32 countries right now.
Up to speed on all the codes, and you're able to kind of just plug right in, or what's the process there?
So the focus for Togal, different from CodeComply, Togal first is just that estimating. You give us the PDF, we'll give you the quantities in those areas back with a click of a button, right? So that's, I won't say black and white, but that doesn't really matter where you're at. That's whatever the architect, engineers.
Right. Those are your measurements, your quantities. That's not your cost, because you've got to obviously make that determination based on where you are.
And that's the gray area that we're not touching right now. I think AI will solve that eventually, but as you know, who's installing it really matters. Are they union or non-union, right? Where they buy the materials, like where are they adding, maybe a little, extra profit margin, or like that's very personal to people. We don't want to touch that. We're just saying, here's the areas now. You go ahead and figure that out. So that's Togal. That's global. Really successful for and helpful for contractors and subcontractors. All the trades, your painters, your flooring, your drywall, etc.
What was your biggest struggle in getting that going? Like what's been your biggest struggle? Because it sounds awesome. And I'm sure that adoption rate, if you get the right ears, you have people who are probably like, we need this. And then you have other people who are like, you're taking my job.
You nailed it.
So,
you nailed it.
What else are you like? What are your friction points here?
So rewinding a little bit, the first biggest challenge was getting the development team, getting the AI developers that understood the problem, that could solve it. Then it was getting the training data, because there's not like, hundreds of thousands of plans laying around somewhere that are labeled for you to go teach the AI. So we had to develop that ourselves. So we had to hire 25 architects and engineers to label tens of thousands of plans to then train the AI. It's like training a, 6-year-old how to read blueprints. That's what we had to do. And that took 3 years. So just the process and the pain, the patience you need to do that was the first big challenge in getting that right team. Then the go-to-market component is what you just said. It's really interesting. Some people have expectations that are so high about AI. They expect you to, do their entire job, walk their dog, wash their car, like, the whole thing. And if you only sit in 4 hours of work a day, they're like, I don't know. It's not what's cracked up to be. You're like, what do you mean 4 hours? Like, dude, that's huge. Yeah. And then other people is the opposite, are saying, wait a minute. I see what you're doing. You're going to take my job. And you know what? I'm not going to show my boss this, because I spend, 30 hours a week doing this exact thing. And sometimes are, I believe, missing what technology does at its core is make you more productive, right? And as a human, the more productive you are, the more money you're going to make, right? That's what every employer wants, is their team members to be more productive and happy to pay more, right? When they're more productive and adding value. And what we've seen in the data is the companies that are using Togal are growing their business, right? They're growing top line, growing bottom line. They're putting out better bids. They're bidding on 10 times, sometimes more work, because the capacity all of a sudden is there for the humans to focus on what really matters and win more bids. So that's the cool part to me, is helping the smaller contractors win more work and grow their business.
Well, then even after the fact, I mean, we had Bob Knackle. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bob because he's a New York guy, but he's a huge New York broker. Started Massey Knackle, sold it out, and started his new BK Real Estate, dealing with all the skyscrapers and big buildings in New York. And one of the things that he got involved in, and he was on the podcast, he went through it, was some of the AI for doing some of this blueprinting, more for understanding the layouts and the costs of existing structures, especially if there's going to be any changes or any conjoining of properties to build bigger buildings. And he said the same thing. There's just no repository for anything that is even accurate because of all of the change orders that happen on site and things that, things that are where things are cut a little bit or maybe a little bit longer because of human error. And sometimes that makes a drastic difference. So you even just think about the post construction and how that information could carry on, the different usages that you can create, could totally revolutionize that whole industry and others that are tangential to it.
Totally. It's something we've sort of in the back of our head been working on, is that sort of long tail of real estate, that warranty, building maintenance, that if a building's going to last, 50, 100 years, things get lost. And that handover often from the contractor to the building manager to then 10 years from them, like people don't even know the, brand of, AC, condensing units or elevator stacks or certain issues. Tying all that to the manufacturer, if you're thinking about it ahead of time, is pretty easy. And so I believe there's going to be multiple companies doing this. Hopefully, we're one of them that's successful, but making that transition seamless from the construction to the building manager, eventual owner, where every single material part, the kind of wood floor, right, the kind of windows, their efficiency ratings, the AC, the fire sprinklers, whatever it is.
Right. General maintenance programs where are certain joints. So this way, if there's an issue, exactly where to go in the wall to check where, if there was a fault, or a leak.
There's a product recall on a PVC pipe in 5 years. Like, how would they know it's in the building? If that'd get lost. All of a sudden, if that's documented and that's there in electronic tied to that manufacturer who provided that, you're going to get that information.
Right.
Right. And so if you're the building manager, another simple example, you need to get the windows cleaned. How much glazing is there? Building managers look in, you're doing some rough math, they throw a ballpark number out. With our platform, you click a button, you've got the exact glazing, dimension there is, you're going to get a much better quote.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a long tail of real estate that I think I'm very hopeful AI will definitely revolutionize.
So now how does the dynamic of the family kind of play into place? You're down this AI route. You're also in bringing in new business, based upon your relationships that you've built over time. Seems like you've got the personality. You're out there shaking hands, kissing babies, and also masterminding this brainchild of yours, Togal and Code.AI.
CodeComply.
What's the rest of the family doing? How do you guys communicate? How do you guys come together? What's the dynamic of the family business look like?
So my dad is chairman, CEO of the construction company. So he's still, sort of running point there in the construction company, but starting to spend more and more time on RENCO, which is this composite building material. RENCO stands for renewable composites. So he's started to focus on that more and more. And my two brothers are doing more and more running the construction business now. And I guess like many, generations, as companies evolve, hungrier, want to leave their mark, ambitious. And we've continued to push the envelope, and quite frankly, been blessed to be in a great state in Florida where there is a lot of growth. We've expanded from really South Florida to Tampa, Central Florida, 10 years ago or so. And now looking at other markets where we want to go. So looking at that geographic expansion and looking at work type. We are heavy in the sort of residential space because that's what Florida is known for. But there's some other verticals that we should be in. So brothers focused on that. I'm focused on AI, other sort of investments for the family and the business, and then dad, RENCO. So it wasn't that clear 6-7 years ago for sure, when I sort of rejoined Coastal. But we've all sort of found our niche and our way. We meet.
How did you guys figure that out? Was it just time and opportunities presented itself? Was it discussion? Was it coaches that came in? What was the sauce? How was the sauce made?
I can say fell into place / conversations around it. Sometimes, people aren't seeing the forest through the trees. You need the outsider to come in. Hey, what are you really doing? This is hot. Go do it. Like, go focus, go run with it. What the hell are you doing over here? Get the hell out of that. Right. Those kind of conversations happen. My dad's always also been very blunt that if there is an issue you have with each other or him or, whomever, address it day one. Like, don't let it fester. Don't give it 6 months to get to the bottom of it. So we have executive meetings, and dad's good at sniffing those things out. Like, hey, what's the tension? Like, what's up? Tell me, talk about it. So we're trying to, do that with each other if there is an issue. My brothers and I meet regularly for breakfast and go through all the various, topics and ideas, try to spend some time not in the office as well, just to take a step back, put the emails and the phones down, think big about, where we're at, who are the leaders that are coming up to help, right, these businesses grow, because no one can do it themselves. And we're blessed to have some great leaders in all the businesses that are really helping out.
Yeah, the team is super important. You need that infrastructure to be able to be nimble and look and think outside of the box while the current operations is still holding itself together. I too have the workaholic affliction, a couple different businesses. So I can definitely understand some of the days, day to day that you're going through, but I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how you manage having multiple businesses and spending your time. And you're married? Yes.
Married now.
Married
Yep,
now. Kids?
No kids. We're working on it. Hopefully soon.
Okay. So practicing. I like that. And you can edit that out. That's fine.
Yeah. The first part, I mean, that's standard, right?
It's tough. It's tough to manage personal life, business, never mind 4 different businesses. Talk to me a little bit about how you structure your life to make sure that everything is getting the appropriate attention that it needs without obviously burning out and dealing with the ramifications of too much and overwhelming yourself.
Trust in your team, right? Building that team, as we just mentioned, is critical. Being able to delegate, I think constantly reevaluating that delegation, what's taking time. I'm constantly trying to push myself to use more technology myself. Even though I have 2 AI companies, I'm still not the best at it, right? There's more and more tools every day to learn about, to help us all be more efficient and focus our time on what really matters. Those big decisions that are maybe unique to you and I, or, whomever that is in your various roles.
What are some of the tools that you found helpful, or techniques or systems or whatever it is? Like, what have you found that's been useful for you where you wake up and you kind of go, if I need to put my finger on any pulse today, this system, this program, this methodology has me covered because this is how I'm covering myself?
Hard not to first say humans still, despite what I just said.
Well, breakfast with your brothers is a system, right? So that's awesome. I mean,
Yep.
you have to have your management team, your executive team, your leadership team kind of getting together and chatting it out, right?
100%. Those in-person, face-to-face, or Zoom meetings, looking at having the camera on, are critical. In the AI company, we have a weekly executive meeting. The team is remote. We're in however many different countries, however many time zones. So mandatory weekly meeting. Do that for both the AI companies. And then on the coastal side, we have at least monthly meetings at the executive level to get together and meet face to face. As far as the AI tools, I, for whatever reason, am lean more toward GPT and been experimenting with more agents, tying my calendar, my emails basically to it and prompting it. And there's some agents that are out there, or you can build your own quite easily now, to give you a breakdown of your day. Hey, here's what's coming up. Here's the 3 key meetings. Here's what you talked about last with them. Be sure to ask this question, those kind of things. There was an email where, whatever Bobby mentioned, X, Y, and Z. So those kind of things, just those quick reminders, because you get into the moment, you lose track of it, right? You get, 12 meetings in a day and it's like a blur at the end.
Oh yeah, totally.
Then tracking, trying to be more disciplined about putting the meeting context into a tracker that can then summarize that for me. What I'd like to do is use my note taker that I have, those AI note takers, to automate more and more of that, those key takeaways. Who the hell knows, but I bet in a year or 2 from now, there'll be 25% of my meetings that are some sort of like AI avatar that's been listening to my last 2 years of meetings, knows my tone, knows the things I'm talking about, care about, and can literally be on a meeting on my behalf, whether it's
That's
my voice,
crazy.
face, whatever,
That's
but
crazy.
like can give the input, right? And then give me the follow-up, actions from it. I mean, how many meetings are you in nowadays where it's like there's as many note takers as people?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
It's
And those
crazy.
note takers are very good at being succinct, getting right to the point, right to the, to the intent for that meeting and what the follow-up items are. What I find interesting is I follow your Instagram, and I was looking through a lot of your posts, and I see that you get on site often. How do you separate your day to be able to be on site, but also deal with all these meetings? Are most of your meetings just virtual, or are you doing lots of phone calls, or how do you balance that?
So I'll zoom out again. I always regretted not doing more with social media. When I was in politics, I ran and got elected in 2012. It was, newer, obviously, than it is now. And I was like, God, I should do something on 29. I'm young. I'm in Congress. Like, I should be doing something. And I just didn't prioritize it. And there was, maybe a stigma my team wanted to be careful of, that I was young and irresponsible on social media and wasn't focused on the real priority of the debt in our country, or, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it gets very
so
serious.
Right. Got to be serious. Okay. So did that, wore the suit and tie every day. Didn't do much with it. Then I'm running for Senate against Marco Rubio. Like, should have had more followers. Like, should have done more to activate the social media. I didn't. It was, it's too late when you need it. Started pushing a little bit. Then, fast forward again, start this AI company in 2019 ahead of this like AI curve, and didn't do much social media. I'm like, damn it. Like, I should have done more, right? Like, to get the followers, because I believe more and more that it's going to be less about the advertising and more about the influencers, more about those like brand ambassadors, whether they're internal or external, sort of hired influencers, hired guns, because people don't trust the ads, right? It's just like, especially the younger generation. And so I think you need a voice. And so whether that's for Coastal or Togal or CodeComply or RENCO, whatever, I started thinking about it like, we need a voice for these businesses. And I don't necessarily want to do it, but I don't know who else is going to do it.
Mhm.
So I decided, I'm going to hire someone to help me with social media. I didn't have a LinkedIn profile. I didn't do any posts on social media. It just wasn't a priority for me.
Mhm.
And so just looking ahead, I think it's going to be more and more of a priority for businesses, for hiring people, for getting clients, for getting the brand reputation, et cetera. So anyway, hired someone, and I'm fairly disciplined about taking an hour a week to film that content. She helps me with those ideas, helps me with what's trending, trying to find the balance of funny slash like real events that people maybe can learn from
Oh,
or
I
care
I
about.
laughed when you showed the image of the bridge that you're building that in Miami with the porta potty at the top,
Yeah.
and you said that's kind of like the best place to go number two.
That's beauty.
And then it was followed up by the other one. It was like when the plumbing wasn't in the plans and they're raising the porta potty with the crane to the top of the. I started laughing. I go, that's really good stuff. What is it that you guys have? You hired this woman to help
Mhm.
you out. What does that look like? Because I think a lot of us, we struggle with how to get on social media. What are other people doing that are successful with it? How are they doing it? What's kind of been your recipe on that? Like, what does she do? How often does she work for you? Is she full-time, part-time? Is she negotiating different platforms for you to be on? What does that look like?
So part time, basically an hour to hour and a half a week. Um, in addition to the speaking events, podcasts like this, or I was at a conference last week, I was on a panel out in LA, every other week, there's some sort of speaking engagement that I get to be a part of. So mixing up that content and really just being disciplined about that hour and a half, being productive in there, taking a half hour to write my LinkedIn posts, an hour of filming, and maybe every other time we'll meet at a job site or, something that's more tangible, where it's more visual. I think starting with construction as my core is critical. That's my roots. That's where all these other companies sort of stem from and go back to. So again, trying to find that somewhat serious educational tone that I think a lot of people are curious about. You drive by a job site, like you have no idea what's going on. How do these things get built? Right? There's a lot of really cool details I think people take for granted. So anyway, trying to pull the curtain back on the construction aspect, but then, like you said, trying to find some humor, some spontaneous, some's planned, and then weaving in the tech and thought leadership, I guess. But it's honestly a full time, but it's a part time job for someone on your team, if not the person themselves. I never took the time to do it. So I knew I needed to hire someone to kind of crack the whip on me to do it.
So if you close your eyes, right? you've got this prefab block that's almost like Legos that can systematize and basically cut down your timing on building for residential projects. You have Togal.AI, which can basically put the blueprints and all of the mechanical and structural and engineering documents that you need to submit for approvals through, and that can expedite the process. Tie it in with Code.AI. You've got Coastal doing its thing, your dad with RENCO, which is it's all tied in together with that. And then you've got the social media push. Where do you see this whole boat moving over the next couple of years? How do you see this starting to unfold? What's your vision?
I hope myself, but our family can leave a legacy of changing construction for the better, improving the way people live, how they live, making it more affordable, making it more accessible for more people. There's so many, I think, interesting challenges ahead and opportunities. And there's these, two very, different views of optimistic / dystopian of how AI and this technological revolution we're living in is going to play out. And I think the home plays a big part in that. Right. And there's so many factors. You talked about RENCO, modular construction, 3D printing. That's going to change construction. AI, we talked about how the planning and approval process could be compressed from years into days. Right. That 25-30%, that's going to change construction and how and where we live. Remote work and Zoom. Right. Do people need to be in cities as much? I don't know. Maybe that changes again where we start to, spread out a little bit more. It's more normal. The way transportation itself, right? Self-driving cars, these eVTOLs, right? The flying cars and drones, moving people. Miami is one of the first cities to approve this for deliveries. And now people, right, are going to be in the skies moving around. Like that changes traffic patterns and the way you live. Crypto and Bitcoin and financing, mortgages, right? All that's, changing quickly. We're seeing a consolidation of currencies. And really a consolidation of so much in the world, this sort of blending that's happening, this melting pot of not just, sort of humans, but currencies and languages, that sort of thing. There's just so many factors, I think, happening that really do impact housing. So I hope we can play our small part in moving it forward for the better, avoiding the sort of dystopian framework and making sure that we're finding opportunities for people in our business and our orbit to grow and succeed, and creating as many successful, whether that's monetary or other sort of millionaires as we can in our orbit.
And in the process of doing that, what point of friction or what opportunity pulls you back into politics? Are you done? Did you hang your hat up, or is this something you want to revisit in the future?
A couple of years ago, I used to always tell people, joking but serious, that if I could write a big check and sort of self-fund a campaign and not worry about it, then I would definitely consider doing it again. I didn't love raising money. I didn't love begging people for money all the time. I like the issues, right? I like policy, call me a dork or whatever, but like I'd much rather spend 80 hours a week like diving into the crux of what's affecting society and how to make it better. Like that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Not asking people for money. So the system is what it is. I can't change that from the outside. So if I can write a check, get into office, focus on the issues, of course, work on changing the system.
What if AI can get your donors? What if your avatar that shows up to meetings now can show up on...
Happening. I invested in a company that's working on this. So it's coming. So yes, but I'd say caveat. When I got elected in 2012, it was like historically the worst time. The Tea Party more divisive than ever, blah, blah, blah. That's pale in comparison to what's happening now. And I truly worry about the future of our country and democracy. And whatever party you're on, in right now, it keeps getting worse and worse and more partisan. There's more anger, more vitriol. And I think that's somewhat par for the course when you think about industrial revolutions and technological revolutions that we're in right now, living through. What comes out the other side is unpredictable, but it's going to be very different. And I think both parties in society has to do some introspection for really how we keep our democracy and what's made us so successful. But we need to work for more people. And at the core, it's not. Right? People are angry for a reason, whatever side of the aisle they're on. The complaints are kind of the same, right? In many ways, it's just like the same coin, just different sides of it. And I wonder how, do I fit into that environment now? That anger, that's not my personality, quite frankly. And what it takes to get elected now, that the flame throwing, just the crazy personalities, that's not me. If that changes, I'll consider it. But
I love
the
it.
environment now is tough.
That was a very bipartisan way to respond. I'm proud of you. That was good. Listen, this was awesome. I appreciate your time. I know that you're probably a busy guy. What have I missed in this conversation that we need to hit on that you want to kind of jump back into?
There was a question about sort of the life lessons, things you've learned. When I look back, I mean, hell, I'm only 42, but for viewers out there, I'd say number one is never too late to get into that new career, to start that new job. With AI, it is so much easier to start a business, and you're not too late. Don't wait. This is like, the early 90s as far as the internet's concerned, right? Like there's a long way to go in the AI chapter. It's not too late for those that are thinking about starting a business, and believe in yourself. Whether others do or not, I wish I would have believed in some of the things I was sort of quietly saying to maybe family or friends more and been more proud of that. Doesn't mean you're always right. But I think having that confidence is important for everybody. And I wish I would have believed in myself more at various times. So anyway, that's what I say. Lean into technology. It's not too late. Believe in yourself. And for those entrepreneurs that are thinking about doing something, now's the time. There's money out there to finance new ideas. Everyone's got an expertise in something they're working on, and there's a way to do it better, right? There's so many cool efficiencies going to come out of AI.
So earlier you said a schoolmate had said to you, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but they basically said that the world is your oyster. You've got a golden road ahead of you. Just be disruptive. What are the things that people don't see that you've had to struggle through as you've gone through these different iterations of success in your life?
Having the confidence, I'd say, number one, right? I think everyone questions themselves to some extent, but those sort of sleepless nights about the big decisions and direction.
What made them
I'd say
sleepless?
uncharted territory that, at least for myself, not that others haven't been through it, but not having lived certain experiences yet and having to think that through on your own, and maybe having a gut feel, but being able to question that, pretty readily, working through those decisions. I'd say more nuanced hiring, firing. Everyone always says it, fire fast, hire slow. It's so true. I can't reiterate that enough. Your team is so important. Some folks that we've had to let go, I knew it months in advance. We should have done it.
Yeah.
It drug on. You try to be nice. You try to be polite. You try to create that culture. It's a balance, but you got to move on. Ultimately, those bad hires will hurt you way more than you trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Moving faster, disrupting more technologically, just getting the right team that believes in the vision and breaking things, as they say, getting it out there. This is such a cool time in history. We're going to look back at this in awe, hopefully for the better, at the companies that were built. So I'd say for everyone that's questioning doing it, do it. It's a freaking cool time to be building a business.
And when you're battling through some of these things, right, in your head, thinking about them, sleepless nights, excited, fearful, whatever the emotion comes of it, who's your phone call? Who do you make your phone call? Who's your first phone call to?
Family first. Dad, brothers, got some good investors, mentors. I really met through politics, but also through Togal. Spend, funny enough, a lot of time in Togal raising money, right? Going to VCs and investors.
Well, you got some experience, right?
Right? Seasoned pro at this, but end up talking to a lot of investors, but made some real friends and mentors along the way that have done it before. I get to lean on them a lot. Constantly, they're challenging me. And this is another thing to add is don't take for granted the vision. Don't play small too early. Really think about those bold moves early, because they're going to attract bold people and bold opportunities.
Yeah.
And again, goes back to that team. You have a small vision, you're not going to get some badass hire. You got a big vision to change the world, you're going to get some cool people.
That's true.
Right? Whether you like Elon Musk or not, look at what he's done. He's got some great leaders around him.
Dude, that was awesome. Hey guys, Bobby Mascia here. If you've been listening to Business Unchained, you know we're creating conversations that matter. Real stories and strategies to help business owners and entrepreneurs win. We've been putting a lot of work into these episodes in our online community, bringing you content that can actually move the needle for your business.
And we're everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, TikTok, you name it, we're there. So look, if you're getting value from what we're doing, please follow, subscribe, and drop a quick comment or like. It really helps us grow this thing. Just search Business Unchained and you'll find us everywhere.